It is no secret that women are still widely underrepresented when it comes to metal bands. While bands like Arch Enemy, Frozen Crown, and Almighty demonstrate how female energy creates powerful metal music, if you take a step back and look at the great context, women only make up a tiny fraction of all the artists out there. Bands with more than a single female in their lineup are rare exceptions, especially in the more famous and popular acts. Progressive artists, like today's band, help supporting an important development towards a more emancipated image of women in the scene. Frantic Amber from Sweden play an energetic, strong sort of melodic death metal, with only their drummer being a man. After their founding, they even used to be an all-female band for a while. It is no wonder that Bellatrix, their second album from 2019, features the stories of a bunch of women that stood up in the environment of a strongly patriarchal society to fight, lead, and leave their traces in history. These warrioresses did not only have to face their enemies' axes or the cruelty of seeing their friends killed in battle, they also had to withstand the criticism, envy, and open hatred of men around them, even from their own allies. This discrimination put a crushing weight on their shoulders that most of the men who are so present in our history books never had to put up with. Now, if you can't follow me on this one, then follow me to ancient Japan to see what I mean. There, I will take a closer look at Nakano Takeko and her elite force, the Joshitai. Our setting is the Boshin War, more precisely, the Battle of Aiju. Armies of Emperor Meiji clashed against the soldiers of the shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, all around Japan. Until the Boshin War, or Japanese Revolution, Japan's government had an interesting structure. The emperor appointed a shogun, a form of military dictator, who would then actually rule the country, while the emperor himself didn't have much to say. In the beginning of the year 1868, however, prominent noble families became so unhappy with the shogun that they took control of the imperial court and started an open revolution against him that would eventually lead to the Meiji Restoration and founding of the Empire of Japan. But right now, that didn't happen yet, as we are in the middle of the war. The Aiju domain, loyal to the ruling but slowly declining shogunate, was trapped by imperial forces on the 6th of October 1868. This is what the song tells us in the first verse. Their allies had abandoned the Aiju after a crushing defeat at the Battle of Bonari Pass, and without any help in sight, the Aiju forces barricaded themselves within their stronghold, the Aiju Wakamatsu Castle. The Imperials were not much impressed and set up a siege, which they were sure to win in the long run. 9 days later, the situation hadn't improved for the Aiju warriors and civilians. Frantic Amber illustrates the situation of the people inside the fortress later in the song, as they are said to tremble in fear. Among those people was the young Nakano Takeko. She was born in 1847 in Tokyo, or Edo as it was called back then, as the oldest daughter of an old samurai family. Note that she was only 21 at the time of the Boshin War. Despite her young age, she already was very well educated and worked as a martial arts teacher since February 1868. Now, on the 15th of October, she gathered an ad hoc commando of 17 female fighters, among them her mother Koku and her younger sister Yuko, who recently turned 16 years old. Together, they demanded to fight against the imperial forces, as the honor of the samurai demanded. This is the point where a man stepped in Nakano's way and told her that she couldn't do it. Kayano Gonbei, a samurai officer, denied her the right to fight as a part of the domain's army, as her force was made up of women, and they would not stand a chance anyway. He called their attack plan a suicide mission, and wouldn't have any argument about that. But Nakano decided to lead her Joshitai, which translates into women's army, by the way, into battle nonetheless. The fact that they couldn't find under the banner of the Aiju or the shogunate didn't bother her, and so the women grabbed their naginatas, Japanese pole weapons, and set out in the morning of the 16th of October. They charged the surprised imperial forces near the Yanagi Bridge, or Bridge of Tears, as it is called in the song. Upon seeing that they dealt with women, the officers of the Ogaki domain ordered the soldiers not to shoot at the Joshitai at first. This moment of hesitation gave Nakano and her troops enough time to close the distance and engage the Imperials in close combat, where their rifles didn't provide any long-range advantage. The Yoshitai's fierce attack stunned their opponent long enough to wreak havoc among them and take out more than double their own strength. Nakano is said to have fought like a demon, brutally killing 6 men in seconds. But, like the song says, even demons cannot fight forever, and soon a bullet pierced Nakano's chest. Even in the face of death, her pride wouldn't faint as she ordered her younger sister to cut off her head and bury it close to their family's temple. I cannot even imagine the trauma that a 16-year-old must suffer through after beheading her own sister, but Yuko went through with it and withdrew, along with the rest of the surviving Joshitai, to fulfill Nakano's last request. On the 6th of November 1868, after exactly 1 month of siege, the Aiju forces surrendered to the Imperials, and not even a year later, the Imperials won the war. Among the many changes that their victory brought, they abolished the samurai caste, which makes Nakano Takeko one of the last samurai to walk this earth. Now this is a badass story if I ever heard one, and if it doesn't want to make you listen to Frantic Amber, I don't know what will. You see, they are an amazing band that makes amazing music, which is fully unrelated to their lineup, and that's what it all comes down to. Enjoying music for the sake of music itself. And Frantic Amber sets a perfect example of how metal sure as hell does not need predominantly male musicians to be great. There is no room for stupid and arbitrary stereotypes of genders in our music. That itself even started as a movement of protest and denial against other socially constructed boundaries. So, thanks for listening. I hope you liked the video and learned something new today. If you have any wishes for songs or future bands, just let me know with a comment down below. I am happy about any thoughts, opinions or ideas. See you next time, and until then, stay true.